You guys hear me talk about, when it comes to training, do something that you enjoy doing. Do something that works best for your lifestyle, your schedule, your body type, everything like that, because that is always going to be the fast track to having success long term, because it's easier to be consistent with. Think about it like, the rabbit versus the turtle, in the race. Obviously, the rabbit's a lot faster, right? Versus the turtle, but slow and steady wins the race, As long as you can do something that you're consistent with, odds are you're going to have a lot more success long term. It's kind of like the difference between also like penny stocks versus, let's say, mutual funds. Sure, you can see a huge ROI in the beginning with penny stocks, but they're very versatile, right? It's very risky. Mutual funds gradually go up. It's playing it safe, So let's talk about playing it safe with your nutrition. We talk so much about the training. Let's actually talk about more so in terms of the nutrition, especially with summertime, being around the corner. It's just like, hey, you want to learn how to go out, maybe to some barbecues, maybe to some pool parties, have some fun, maybe have some alcohol included also. Just live your best life, but also look your best with your shirt off, right? That's the motto. That's the mission. And so it's just like, let me give you some practical advice on what you can stick with. And it comes to terms to sticking with your goals, right? And not sabotaging your results. Because at the end of the day, right, training, the working out aspect, is just the icing on the cake. The batter, right, this is like 80 to 90% of all of it, is the nutrition, And so let's just make sure that you have a strategy to kind of keep in mind and what serves you best. So I'll start off by saying this, okay? You have your calories and you have your macronutrients, okay? Very, very important things to know. When it comes down to your calories, that's obviously the food that you're consuming, right? And then what is that food? If we had to break it down even more, well, hey, that's going to be consumed of your macronutrients, right? Your proteins, your carbs, your fats, okay? Your fourth hidden macronutrient is alcohol. And we'll talk about that here in a little bit. But nonetheless, let's just keep it simple. Calories, your macronutrients. Don't worry so much about your carbs and don't worry so much about your fats. And I tell this to our coaching clients all the time. Whenever somebody asks me, they're like, hey, Joe, I'm sticking with my calorie range that you gave me. I'm hitting my protein goal that you gave me, but I'm over on my fats, or I'm under or over on my carbs. And I always say, so? Why does that matter? And the same question applies to you. Why does it matter? Don't be fooled by mainstream fitness industry saying that, carbs are bad or high fats are bad or low fats are bad or whatever, right? At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. I say this all the time. They are just energy sources. Fats are slow digestion energy sources. And yes, they're essential for your body. Do you need to go on a ketogenic diet? No. Do you need to have an abundance of fats? No. 15, 20, 25 to 30% of your daily calories coming from fats, that's a good sweet spot. Carbohydrates, hey, those are great, especially if you're somebody that's in the gym working out or you do something that's very, let's say, intensive. Maybe you're like a construction worker for your occupation where you're constantly needing energy. Have carbohydrates. Your body is going to utilize them for fuel, plain and simple. But you don't need to worry about them. It doesn't matter at all. And the reason why we always tell our members, don't worry about your carbs, don't worry about your fats, is I'll say it like this. Odds are if you're watching this YouTube video or listening to this podcast episode on Spotify or iTunes, or you're a coaching client of ours, guess what? You are not going to be stepping on a bodybuilding stage or a physique competitor stage. We don't coach those people. We coach dads. We coach men trying to lose weight, burn body fat, get off their blood pressure, get off their cholesterol, reverse their type 2 diabetes. That's it. That's what we stay in our lane. We are specialists at doing that, right? We're not a general doctor here. We're specialists. That's what we focus on. So if you want to step on a bodybuilding stage, then go listen to somebody else's a bodybuilder's podcast or a bodybuilder's coaching program. We focus on helping our dads burn body fat to have more energy, have more confidence, live their best life, have that flexibility, and most importantly, have that knowledge of knowing how to eat and train properly for their body type and goals. Okay? So don't worry about carbs. Don't worry about your fats. Trust me. Play it safe. So now that you know, all you need to do is really focus on your calories and focus on your protein. Now, let's talk about some specific strategies. Whether you're going out to eat, whether you have a, pool party or a backyard barbecue, whatever the case may be, you want to learn how to have that flexibility. I'm going to give you 2 simple strategies, and you guys probably hear me talk about this all the time because they simply work. That's it. One is intermittent fasting. The second one is the protein sparing diet. And then the third one, right, which is one that I typically do nowadays, is I mix the two together to get this hybrid approach to really helping me have a lot of flexibility and a lot of fun, right? Because I'm listening to my body. And that's the name of the game that I want you guys to understand from today's episode, is to listen to your body. What works best for you is what's going to work long term. So first off, intermittent fasting. What is that, right? This is when you're not eating anything. Don't believe all the hype also about, you can have this and you can have this. No, keep it simple. Water, black coffee, green tea. No artificial sweeteners, no 0-calorie anything in there. Keep it simple. When you're in a fasted state, yes, your body is primarily using body fat as fuel. But at the end of the day, don't hear that, because most of the time people like to, what's the quote? Somebody gives you an inch and you take a mile, something like that. Don't just hear me say that and you're like, all right, I'm not going to eat anything forever, right? Or I'm just going to, only have 500, 600 calories, 800 calories, 1,000 calories, right? Joe said, hey, don't eat. And so I'm just going to eat 1 meal a day. Guess what? You're going to lose your muscle. You're going to slow down your metabolic rate. We see that time and time happen again, right? Just because someone's fasting in their feeding window, they still need to learn how to consume X amount of protein, X amount of calories to reach X amount of goals, okay? Keep that in mind. So with fasting, it's just time restriction, right? There is, where you fast for 16 hours and you have this 8-hour feeding window. There's a shorter time frame, that you want. There's alternative day methods as well when it comes to fasting. You hear about autophagy a lot, where your cells rejuvenate itself and kind of clean up the dead cells. Typically, autophagy happens after a 24-hour fast, which I'm kind of against. Maybe 1 day out of the month, sure. But at the end of the day, for just simple health practices and a healthy relationship with food that I want to talk about next, I wouldn't recommend doing that. And the reason why I don't is because of that healthy relationship with food. You should learn that food equals fuel. And that's what we coach. That's what we teach our members at Heartletics, is that you should learn how to fuel your body properly. Back when I did fasting religiously, I remember I was on a 4-hour eating window. And so I'd fast for 20 hours. I remember 2 specific times. One, I went out to brunch with my wife and I sat there as she's eating food with black coffee. And I'm thinking to myself, like, this is stupid. Like, why am I doing this? And then the second time, I remember being at Chipotle with my buddies and everybody's eating their food and I had to wait 5 minutes. I'm like, guys, I can't eat. It's not 2 p.m. yet. I gotta wait. It was like 1:55. And I remember everybody's eating and I'm starving and I'm just like looking at everybody trying to have a conversation, and I'm like, this is dumb. I'm literally having a horrible relationship with food. I'm obsessed with the time frame. 5 minutes. Obsessed with the time frame. And fasting, just like when I did a ketogenic diet, really affected me with having an unhealthy relationship with food. I'll just say it like that. It's a great tool to use, right? If you know how to use it and have that balance, have that structure. Because if, let's say, you're going out to a party or a celebration or a barbecue, whatever, and there's going to be food, maybe there's going to be some alcohol here. Guess what? If you're eating, let's say, 2,000 calories and you don't eat until you go off to that event, well, hey, you got 2,000 calories right at your disposal, right? Think about your calories being almost just like your cash flow for the day. Hey, if you run out of cash, you can't buy anything. Well, have that parameter, right? That gateway of if you run out of calories, you don't eat anything for the day, right? You're done, plain and simple. And so when it comes down to it, it's just you have all that wiggle room. You have more flexibility. But if you're going out to eat somewhere or a party or, barbecue, it's going to be hard to consume X amount of protein in that small little time frame. right? It's going to be very difficult because most of the time when you go out to eat, a restaurant or somebody's friend's house or a party, odds are there's not going to be lots of healthy protein options. And the name of the game here to speed up your metabolism is to focus on hitting that protein goal. So regardless, hey, if you can do that, you got fasting, right? The second alternative option, strategy, whatever it is that you want to call it, is a protein sparing fast. And this is what we always recommend to our members because it works the best long term. And this is where you're only focusing on consuming protein. That's it. So like things like, egg whites, protein powders are okay. Protein bars, I wouldn't go that route because they typically have carbs and fats with it. You want to save and, really reserve those carbs and fats and calories for the evening time when you're going out to eat or party, whatever the case may be. So like egg whites, protein powders, low-fat cottage cheese, plain Greek yogurt, that's a fan favorite of mine. Lean meats, right? So like turkey, chicken, steak, different things like that. Fishes. You're primarily just having protein. That's it. Protein, leading up to the time of the event. That way, when you get there, hey, guess what? You still have a bunch of calories, and your odds are have an easier time of hitting your protein goal. If let's say you're on a 2,000 calorie budget for your food intake, and let's say you're trying to hit 200 grams of protein, well, if realistically, right, you are able to have, let's say, 150 grams, 120 grams, something like that of protein leading up to the event, sure, you're not going to have as many calories. Maybe you only have, 1,500 or 1,300 calories left in your budget, but realistically, like, you want that protein. It's higher up on the thermic effect of food, meaning it's going to make your body burn more body fat as it's trying to consume and digest the protein. It's also more satiating too, because I know back when I was fasting, if I ever went somewhere, right, I everything was like a buffet to me when it was in my feeding window. I'll just say it like that. And now, hey, when I do the protein sparing fast, when I go somewhere, I have more self-control. I don't need to eat like this and be a garbage disposal and have a mini food challenge within that feeding window because I'm full. I've been able to eat throughout the course of the day, had plenty of protein. I feel good. I can be more cautious of that and aware of that, okay? So hopefully that makes sense. So regardless, you're not getting as many calories of, if you're doing the, intermittent fasting approach, but it's an easier opportunity for somebody to hit their protein goal and also have more self-control. I'll just say it like that. And then this hybrid approach of mixing the fasting and the protein sparing diet, that's typically like what I've been doing recently just because I'm getting ready for photo shoots. And so like on these days where if like me and my wife are going out to sushi, something like that, I'll typically skip breakfast and wait until lunchtime. And that's where I'll consume a lot of protein. And then I'll just wait until the evening time, go out, have my food with my wife or whatever the case may be, enjoy it, whatever, So it's just like I'm kind of mixing and matching the two. But regardless, I'm trying my best to hit my protein goal. If I'm fasting, if I'm protein sparing diet, if I'm doing a hybrid approach, I'm always trying my best to hit your protein goal. And that is the biggest thing for you. So if you're consuming alcohol, awesome, cool, right? Just make sure you're eating your protein, plain and simple. Now, if you want more advice on actually like how to consume alcohol and not put on the body fat, obviously go to my YouTube channel, watch that video on how alcohol affects fat loss. But regardless, keep it simple, right? At Heartletics, we use the phrase KISS, keep it simple, stupid, right? Because consistency is key, and when you keep things in perspective of what's, works best for you and how it can be applicable to your own lifestyle with creating better habits, it doesn't have to be hard. You don't need to cut out your, favorite foods or favorite drinks. You don't need to cut out whole food groups like, carbohydrates or fats, whatever the case may be. Keep it simple, right? Figure out your calorie range that works best for you to be in that deficit to lose body fat. Focus on hitting your protein goal. And at the end of the day, hey, have some grace. If you happen to fall off the wagon, and go over on your calories or miss your protein, it's okay. The next day, don't try to burn it all off with tons of cardio and, try to not eat anything. Once again, that's going to make you have an unhealthy relationship with food, which is the opposite of what we're trying to do here. So it's just get right back on track. Hey, there's 365 days in a year. If, let's say, 65 of those days are birthdays, anniversaries, celebration, holidays, sick days, parties, whatever the case may be, and you're consistent with hitting your goals for 300 days, that's still a really good year. So just some food for thought. Keep that in mind. And hopefully this advice has helped you out.